Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I just wanted to take a few minutes and explain how I replaced the entire rear suspension. I had planned when I first started to do a how-to video, but working by myself on jack stands, it was quite difficult to do the work and videotape it. So I'm just going to touch a few points that made it easier for me and may help you if you decide to do this. Let me recap a little bit on my last video about the suspension. I replaced all the suspension parts with AAD, replaced the springs, replaced the axles, just about replaced everything, the performance development, rear brace, the entire suspension was upgraded. The first thing I did was I took a silver pencil and marked the cradle where it touched the chassis around so I could get that close back to where it was on all four corners. And I marked it around it, and I marked it a line up and down so you could center it and get it right back to where it was, so the alignment would be pretty close when you got done. That was the first thing I did. After removing the caliper and the rotor and getting that out of the way, I started taking the top bolts out of the suspension parts and letting the assembly hang down a little bit. You have to, your emergency brake cable, there's a bracket right up there with a 10mm bolt that holds the emergency brake cable. Remove that, and that allows it to come down a little further, and that's going to help you get the axle out. After you get all your suspension, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 suspension parts there. After you get those loose, you're going to have one bolt that runs through the bottom knuckle of your suspension, and that's going to be an Allen head bolt with a nut on it. Some people say that they can get it, push that down and get it out of the way and get the axle out. I couldn't do it by myself, so I had to take the nut off and remove the Allen head bolt, and it moved down just enough that I could get the axle out. So that helped me tremendously. Putting it back together, I started from the bottom and worked my way up. You're going to have to get a couple of these arms in before you put your caliper on. I found that out the hard way. So it's self-explanatory. Once you look at your instructions from AAD, they're pretty good. I think the torque on the back side there where it meets the cradle is 75 pound-feet, if I'm not mistaken. Look on your instructions, and 65 on the front here. The bolts that come from the factory, they're torqued at 35 pound-feet. So honestly, you really need help if you're going to do it. I mean, it was a chore doing this by myself, on my back, on jack stands. If you had a lift, boy, it would be 10 times easier and a whole lot faster. But I didn't, but I got the job done. It was pretty close when I took it over to Brandon at Down South Power in Jacksonville. If you're in this area and in Jacksonville, Florida, he's the man to set this suspension up and get the alignment straight, especially if you want a hook. I mean, he's the go-to guy. Let's talk about shocks. I had talked with Brandon and a couple of other people that have real fast Hellcats, and I'm an old school racer, and I was concerned about the shocks, and the Bilstein dampening shocks on here, they are going really fast with them. I was concerned, and I was thinking about changing them to Mentor or something else, and they said, yeah, leave them things, they work. So I have left them, and I'm going to give them a shot because they're going really fast with them. So I'm going to listen to them and stay with the shocks. Last couple weeks ago when I took the car out, I ran into an issue with it dropping power at the top end of each shift. It would just, something's taking power out and putting it back in for a split second, and that's where we're at with it. we're working on that issue right now. I just took the street R's off and putting my street tires back on. We're going to go out and do a little bit of data logging and hopefully get it on the dyno. I think I'm going to make a fuel change and an injector change and see where we come up with that. And just wanted to update you and give you a few tips on this. Also, when you drop your cradle, you're going to have to drop your cradle down. You want to loosen all four corners. Do one side at a time. And I took the bolts all the way out on one side, and the other side was maybe down about an inch, inch and a half. Just drop them down so that it can move. And like I said, do one side at a time, and you shouldn't have a problem. And it goes back together pretty much the same as you take it apart. It's like I said, it's pretty self-explanatory. You can see, and it was a job, but like I said, we got it done. All right, so stay tuned. Please subscribe, like, and share for me. It really helps the channel and hopefully bring you some good content here in the future. Thanks.